Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Thunder and today we're going to be working on adding the farming system and footsteps to our game. This tutorial shouldn't be too long. It's actually kind of simple to do it, so I don't think it will go past 20 to 30 minutes. But again, we'll see about that. So first of all, I want to show you guys something. If you didn't see the last tutorial, go ahead and do it, because what you're going to see now, the game looks really different and 10 times better than the previous tutorials. Because in the last tutorial, we improved the graphics so that the game would look like this. As you can see, it looks pretty good. It's pretty amazing, to be honest, because this is done with the standard Unity render pipeline, which is not that good at graphics compared to the others. And we still achieved decent graphics. And your graphics should be even better than mine, because I have my project's graphics lower all the way down. My graphic level is at very low. So you should have a much better graphics than these. As you can see, textures look blurry and all of that. That's just because of my graphics settings. So I'm just going to show you really quick a couple more things. So you can see right here how much better our weapon looks. Also, we added some camera shake. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot right now. Alright, sorry, I had to stop for a moment to check something. So when we shoot, there's a little camera shake on our camera, which gives it a more punchy feeling to our weapon. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Gives it a much better, like, punchy feeling to our weapon and makes the gunplay feel a lot better. Okay, that got bugged right there. A lot better now. Also, we fixed a couple of bugs too on previous tutorials related to weapons, so that's another thing. And today we're going to be making, so for example, we hit rocks, we actually get stone and metal ore and all of that. Then same thing over here, we hit trees, we get wood and all of that stuff. So here's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm going to import a couple of icons for wood, metal ore, and stones, things like that. Again, I'm just going to use the Rust icons, so I don't want to put much work into it because icons are not that big of a deal if you're making a tutorial. In your case, if you're making a game, like you actually want to make this into a full-fledged game to publish on Steam, which you can totally do with this tutorial series. Obviously, you're gonna have to add your own systems to make it your own game, but hey, you know, you got that right there. So I recommend you make your own icons. A pretty easy way to do it, something that I did on my own game pretty recently, I actually finished it yesterday, is I reworked. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Let me just put the notification sounds down. Okay, so as I was saying, I reworked all of my icons for my game, and this is not the best method to do it, but it's the most fitting for me as I'm not a great drawing artist. What I would do is I would just go on ahead and create the models, texture them, and then take a screenshot of them and take the background off. That's a pretty good way to make icons if you're not that much of an artist. Like in my case, I'm not that good at artists. I can make 3D models, texture them, but when it comes to draw, I'm not that good. So you can make pretty decent icons like that using that method. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and download the icons, just put them into the game, and I'll get back to you guys in a moment. Okay guys, so this is all I did. I just imported the metal ore icon, as I already had this stone and wood, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into items, and I'm actually just gonna order this a bit, but you don't have to do it. So I'm gonna make a folder for resources, another one for weapons, and another one for ammo. Weapons and ammo. The reason I'm doing this is because the project by itself is already getting a little bit big, the items amount. And on the coming tutorials, it will get even bigger because we'll be adding buildings, storage. We're gonna also be adding, I believe, yeah, that's pretty much it. Building, storage, and as we're adding right now, farming. We're gonna be adding a lot of more things besides that. We're gonna be adding AI, and for the building system itself, we're gonna need a pretty good amount of items. So it's better to just have them ordered like this, so it doesn't get hard to just find an item, because it will happen. I'm telling you, because it has happened to me before. So okay, I'm just gonna drag this one right here into weapons too. All right, now I'm gonna go into resources, and I'm gonna create a new item. So create survival game, inventory, new item, and I'm gonna call it metal ore. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get metal ore and wood from it. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna make the max stack 100. It's gonna be generic because we really don't need it. And over here I'm just gonna look up metal ore. There we go, metal ore. Metal ore. And over here, raw metal that can be cooked. Also, we will be adding furnace, so cooking and smelting. We're gonna be adding those two things. So do remember that. So next thing, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna go into scripts, and we're gonna create a new folder right here, and we're gonna call it gathering. Alright, inside here we're gonna create a couple of scripts. First one, gatherable object. This is gonna be the main object that will handle all of the gathering, how many hits does the item has, all of that. Then we're gonna create another one called gather extension. This one is basically going to be created for the purpose of, for example, animals. When we kill an animal, we want to gather their meat, their cloth, all of that. But in order to hit the animal on their exact parts, we're going to need to add the colliders to the bones. So on those bones colliders, we're going to be adding the gather extension, which once we hit it, will automatically go ahead and refer to the gatherable object ahead of on top of him. So next we're going to create, okay, not showing explorer, sorry. Okay, so as I was saying, we're going to go ahead and create a new C# script, which we're going to call gather data SO. So again, this is going to be a scriptable object that we'll use to store gathering information. So for example, we're going to be having the amount that we get, the item that we get related to that amount. So all of those things we're going to be using. So first, let's do our gather data setup. So over here, all we really need is actually pretty simple, just a public item SO. Okay, it's not autocomplete. Item SO. It's going to be called items, and we're gonna make an array. Okay, so once we've made that array, we're going to go ahead and do public int, and that's also going to be an array. We're gonna call it amount. So keep one thing in mind. If you have two items, you must have two integer amounts. Otherwise, you will get an error. So keep that in mind. That's key for the functionality of this system. So next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to go ahead and go to our Unity editor again. Once in here, we're going to open up our gatherable object. Okay, just wait for it to load. Let's open up our gatherable object because we're gonna need it. But first, go back to your gathered data, and we're gonna make this into a scriptable object. Scriptable object, and again, just create as a menu. Over here, do parentheses, file name. I'm gonna do new gathered data, then comma after the quote. Menu name, it's going to be equals, I believe it was Thunder. Then I'm gonna do gathering, and I'm gonna gather data. Right, there we go. So Actually, yeah, we're gonna do it like this. Okay, now go into your gatherable object, and over here, again, I'm gonna delete this. So we're gonna do a public gather data array. It's going to be an array, and it's going to be called gather datas. All right, next thing, we're going to be making a public integer hits. This is how many hits this will take before getting destroyed. So if you put a number of 10, right after 10 hits with whatever tool you're using, it will just go away, it will disappear. But we're also gonna add one more thing. So we're gonna do public item SO, and we're gonna call it preferred tool. And then over here, we're gonna make another public int tool multiplier. Alright, so I'm gonna make this 2 by default, because what's gonna happen is whenever we hit an item, we're going to pass it on the tool we're using. So for example, if we're hitting a tree, our preferred tool will be a stone hatchet or a metal hatchet, something like that. So if we're using any of those weapons, we will multiply our outcome. So if we usually get 2 stone, for example, and we're using a pickaxe, we would get 4 stone. So that's how it's gonna work. Obviously, if you're putting a multiplier of 3, will be 6 stone, you know, basic math. Also, going to preferred tool, I'm gonna make it tools, and it's going to be an array. Now, down here, first of all, we're going to do is public void gather, and we're gonna pass an item SO, which is gonna be the tool used. Then we're gonna pass the inventory manager, inventory, and that's going to be for the reference. Okay, I put code instead of void. So void. Alright, now over here, first thing we have to do is check if we're using the actual tool. So let's make a boolean. We're gonna call it using right tool equals false by default. Just keep in mind, when you're doing local variables, first of all, they cannot be public nor private. They're only going to be existent on the function you're using in them. In this case, the gather function. Second, you must assign a value to them. For example, if it's a game object type variable, you must do equals null. Otherwise, you'll get a syntax error. Same thing with booleans. They must have a defined value. Otherwise, it won't work. So just keep that in mind whenever you're using them by your own. Next thing we're going to do, it's going to be find. Okay, check for tool. Over here, we're gonna run a for int I equals 0. Then if I is less than preferred tools dot length, then I plus plus. But before you keep going on this, so do as I'm doing right now. We're going to do if preferred tools dot length is greater than 0. So for example, if you do not have anything, any preferred tools at all, if we do not add this reference, this check, sorry, it won't work. So just keep that in mind. So, and we're gonna put the for inside of the array. Okay. All right, and then just do not the array, sorry, the brackets, and then do 2 more brackets for the for. Inside here, it's pretty simple. All we're going to do is if preferred tools I equals tool used, then all we do is using right tool equals true, and we break the for. So we stop running the for. That's it for the check for tool code. Then over here we're gonna do the actual adding of the item. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna comment it out, gather. And over here we're gonna do, basically it's, first we're going to find which gather data we're gonna use. So we're gonna do int selected gather data equals random dot range, and it's going to be 0, gather datas dot length. And then it's pretty simple code. All we're going to do is inventory equals inventory dot add item, and we're gonna pass in here the gather data selector gather data. Okay, no, not that. Okay, I misspelled selected. There we go. Selected gather data dot items, and then items, and then we're gonna choose, actually we're gonna do this a little bit different, so just do item, and we're gonna go back to our gather data, and this won't be arrays. So let's just do it like that. It's gonna be easier for the tutorial and easier to just code in general. So just remove the arrays and go back in here, and now right after item do comma gather datas dot not dot square brackets selected gather data dot amount. And there's one more thing we have to do for this. So now we're going to go back into Unity and open up our gather extension script. Now over here we're going to do public public void. Okay, so public void gather, and then same thing, we're gonna pass it a item SO called tool used, and then we're gonna pass it a inventory manager inventory. Now all we have to do inside here is pretty simple. First, if get component in parent, and then we just do the gatherable object equals null, then just return. So don't do anything if there's no gatherable object on top of him. Return, there we go. Otherwise, if we're not returning, we're basically gonna do get component in parent gatherable object dot gather, and then we just pass these values on. Tool used, comma, inventory. Okay, that's it for the gatherable objects. Now go into your weapon script, and on the melee functions where it says execute hit, we are going to be adding some extra code. First of all, we're going to do a couple of references. So we're going to do gatherable object, gather object obj, I'm going to call it for short, equals hit that transform dot get component, not get component in parent. So get component gatherable object. Alright, just to explain this really quick, the reason I'm doing this right here, you could just type this in and check if it's null. Now that would be longer lines of code. So now instead of doing that, all we can do is gather, if gather obj, if gather obj is not equals null, then we actually gather. So gather obj dot gather, and then we just pass on the values. So weapon data in this case, comma, and right over here all we have to do, I believe, is get component in parent player window handler, actually window handler dot inventory, and that's we're almost done with the gathering. But you see how you can just write gather object instead of just writing all of these lines twice, which if you have a pretty big code like with a lot of logic for it, it can get pretty annoying. So that's why I do it like that. But you could just, instead of do gather object, you could just do this line right here and you'll be fine. That's just a way to make it easier. Now we're gonna add one more thing. So we're gonna add gather object, not gather object, sorry, gather extension, and then it's going to be called gather extend. Same thing, equals hit that transform dot get component, and we're gonna do gather object. Hey guys, Thunder from the future here. So I was editing this video and I realized that I didn't show this full part, because in the next clip you'll see that I said that I wasn't recording. So just showing you guys. So in here where I code it, you are supposed to put gather extension, then copy this right here and put it down here. So, but all you're gonna do is this one where it says gather object, this two, you're gonna put gather extend. That's all you have to do. Alright, now I'll leave you guys with the video. Okay guys, sorry about that, I had to stop for a moment, then I realized I wasn't recording when I went back to recording. So all I did was, I added a rock model to the scene, and then just added the gatherable object script. That's all you have to do, it's pretty simple. So once you've done that, we're going to go into your gathering folder, so go ahead and create that one. Once you've created it, right click in it and do create survival game gathering gather data. I'm gonna make this stones and select it. Let me just unlock my inspector, and right where it says items, just select the appropriate data. In this case it will be the stones data from the item data, and then I'm just gonna give it a amount of 5. Then I'm gonna create another one, so I'm gonna do survival game gathering gather data, and this is gonna be called metal ore. And then over here we're just gonna do metal ore. Okay, I haven't created that item yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna go into items, resources. Actually, yeah, I've created it. Never mind. Gathering metal ore, metal. There we go, metal ore. And I'm just gonna give it an amount of 3. Alright, so next thing, we are going to go back into our script and over here add the update method and do if hits is less than or equals to 0, destroy parentheses, and inside the parentheses write game object with the lowercase g. That's really important. And then just close it. Now go down here and do hits minus minus and close it. Alright, that's literally it for code. This should perfectly work. Actually, we're missing one. No, we're not. Alright, so this should be it for the gathering. It's just a matter of testing it now. Actually, just go ahead and drag each one of your gather data into here. And hits, I'm gonna make it 5. Preferred tools, I'm just gonna give it stone hatchet for now, just for testing. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna give them any. I'll be creating a metal hatchet and all of that later down the line, so it should be good. Okay, so first of all, grab our stone hatchet, and you can see our inventory is fully empty. So let's find the rock, which is right here, and we hit it, and there we go, we're collecting. As you can see right there, we collected metal ore and stone, and that's it guys, there's your gathering system. Now we'll do the last part of this tutorial, which is going to be the footstep system. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Although I'm going to pause the video for a moment to get some footstep sounds. I will leave it down below in the description, don't worry about it. Also, I'll leave the link to the page that I get all of these free sounds from, which is called Free Sound without an S, freesound.org. You just have to create an account and you can download any sounds from there. Obviously, if you're trying to make this into a full-fledged game, as I said before at the start of the tutorial, do your own sounds. You can find anyone that can do them for a cheap price. There's people on Fiverr that do it for like $5, so, and they would do like 3 or 4 sounds by $5, as long as they are like really short and simple sounds. So it's not that hard to get a good sound designer for a cheap price. So if you're trying to make a full-fledged game, go with that. Otherwise, if you're just trying to learn or anything like that, go with free sounds, you know. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll be back in a moment, guys. Alright guys, so all I did was I created a footsteps folder in sounds, and then just imported the 3 grass clips that I downloaded in the project. Now we're gonna code the actual system. First, go into assets, then we're gonna go into scripts, and we're gonna do a new folder. We're gonna call it footsteps. Okay, right inside here we're gonna create a new C# script, and we're gonna call it surface data SO. Then we're gonna make another one called surface. This is gonna be pretty simple. It's pretty much just like the gathering thing, sort of. So on surface, let's go ahead and open that one. And don't worry, I'll leave the sounds down in the description, so if you haven't downloaded them, go ahead, download them, import them into your project, and you should be good. Alright, wait. Alright, here it is. So surface, all we're gonna do is public, it should be surface data, and we're gonna call it surface. That's it for this one. Then surface data SO, we're gonna go ahead and open it. I'm just gonna wait for it to compile. So go ahead and open it. First, make it a scriptable object. Again, you know, same thing, create as a menu. Then just do file name equals, I'll make it new surface. Then comma menu name equals, it's gonna be called survival game footsteps slash new, actually I'm gonna call it environment slash new surface. Okay, so go ahead and save it. Then over here, all we have to do is basically we're gonna add a public audio clip, and we're gonna make an array, and it's going to be called footsteps. So save it, and then we're gonna go back into Unity, and we're gonna open our player script. And now this is gonna be the most complex part, and it's still gonna be very easy, so don't worry about it. So I'm just gonna look it up, player. Alright, go ahead and open your player script. And over here we're gonna be doing a couple of things. So first, we're gonna need some timers to just adjust the way our footsteps work, so they match our speed. So if we're running and we are just like playing them too slow, we don't want that happening, so that's why we're gonna be using timers. Alright, first I'm gonna go ahead and create down here, I'm gonna add a header. First I'm gonna do this right here, and I'm gonna add a header. It's gonna be called sounds. First, private audio source not settings, and we're gonna call it audio S. At least that's how I like to call it. It's up to you how you do it. Then actually that's it. We don't even need the header part. Alright, next thing. We're gonna go all the way down. We're gonna do a new function, but this is gonna be public audio clip. And I'm gonna explain what this means in a moment. So this audio clip, what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna call it get footstep. Right. So what this is going to do, why is this audio clip not void? When we make a function of type, I don't know, audio clip, item.so, any type of script, it's gonna return that script. So we can do play, get footstep, and it just plays the audio clip we get from this function. So that way it's more organized and easier to just fix things that might happen along the way. So first thing we're gonna do in here, we're gonna be shooting a raycast to check for a ground. So let's start by doing that. Raycast hit, and then we're gonna do if physics dot, and we're also gonna use spherecast. We're gonna do transform dot position. Actually, no, not transform dot position. We're gonna do cc dot center dot y, but we're gonna use negative y. So we're gonna do that. Then we're gonna do comma, and I'm just gonna give it a radius of 0.2. Then we're gonna do vector 3 dot down. Actually, I think this should be good just without the y. Should be. I'm not sure. Alright, so after down we're gonna do a comma, and we're gonna do out hit comma, and then over here we have to do the range. So it's gonna be cc dot extends dot bounds dot extends dot y. And then after that I'm just gonna add a couple more inches for the check, because just keep in mind, if we're on a slope terrain, it's not gonna detect it even if we're on ground. So I'm just gonna add like 0.3. okay, so next thing over here, we're gonna do basically surface again equals hit that transform dot get component, and then we just do component and then surface. Alright, there we go. So next we just check if surface is not equals null. We return, actually no, wait, if surface not equals null, we're going to do int, I'm just going to do I equals random dot range. We're going to do 0 comma surface dot data, actually that's surface dot footsteps dot length. Alright, then next thing we're going to do is we're going to return surface dot footsteps square brackets I. Now we're gonna have to add a couple more things. So over here we're gonna do else, else return null. Alright, this will give you an error if you're not on the ground, but that error doesn't really matter because it's not affecting the way it functions at any way, so don't worry about it. And here we do the same thing, else return null. Alright, and there we go. That's it for our get footstep function. Okay, next thing, we're gonna actually do the timers. But first, we're gonna need a couple more things. Over here, we're gonna do hide in inspector, and we're gonna do public bool walking. Then we're gonna do the same thing for crouching, hiding inspector, public bool crouching. Then let's go into our movement function, and right over here we're gonna add a couple of things. We're gonna do walking equals false. Then we're gonna do crouching, crouching equals false. And we're gonna do the same thing down here. I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this, and this is the crouching one, so crouching is gonna be true and the rest of them are gonna be false. So just make that, and then this one's going to be the walking one. So again, same thing, all are false except for walking. So let's go ahead and copy this, paste it down here, and then we're gonna do so walking equals false, crouching equals true, and we're gonna do false and then walking equals true. Then there's one more thing we're gonna do. So down here, go ahead and do the following check. If vector, not vector 3, if movedir equals vector 3 dot 0, so if we're not moving at all, then we're gonna set them all to false, because we don't want to be playing footsteps if we're not moving. Also, don't forget to add the other equal sign right here. Alright, so go ahead and save it. Then we're gonna add the following. So down here we're gonna do, I'm just gonna do these footsteps. Then just add the following. Public float and we're gonna do step run step length. So basically what this is gonna do is length. Alright, there we go. Is how much time must pass before we actually need to go ahead and execute the next footstep. So we're gonna do this for running, walking, and crouching. So we're gonna do public float, walk, step, length. Then we're gonna do public float, okay, float, crouch, step, length. Just gonna fix this right here because I misspelled walk. Alright, then next thing, we're gonna create 3 more floats, but these ones are going to be private. So we're gonna do private float, current, crouch, length. So this is gonna be pretty much like the timer from our weapon fire rate. Okay, sorry, I had to stop. So right after current, crouch, length, we're gonna do the same thing for the other 3. So private, float, current, walk, length. And then we're gonna do the same thing for running. So private float, current, run, length. Alright, there we go. So on fix update, no, actually we're gonna do update. First, we're going to do if crouching. We're actually gonna use the crouching timer, obviously. So if current crouch length. Okay, what's going on? Current crouch length. Okay, I put 2 U's instead of 2 R's, that's why. Okay, current crouch length is less than, we're gonna do crouch step length. Then we do current crouch length plus equals time dot delta time. Alright, then we do else, and we're gonna do 2 brackets. And right on here, what we're gonna do is first current crouch length equals 0. Then we're going to actually go ahead and play our footsteps. So we're gonna do audio s dot play one shot, and inside here we're just gonna do get. I think it's get footstep. Yep, get footstep. And there we go. That's it for the crouching. Now we're gonna just duplicate this 2 more times. So I'm gonna do else and just paste it. Then again else and just paste it. Now this is gonna be walking, of course. So current walk length. Yep, there we go. Is greater than walk length. Walk step length. Then current walk length goes over here, and then we do it here. Now same thing for running. Current run length. Then I'm just gonna copy it, paste it, and then current run length. Not current run length, run step length. There we go. And that's it pretty much. Now let's go back into Unity. We're gonna go ahead and create our actual surface data. I'm just gonna create one for the grass, and that should be it. So let's go ahead and go back to, we're gonna go to assets, create a new folder, surfaces. So you guys can see already how many folders we have here. Just imagine if this wasn't ordered, how much of a mess it would be. And I can tell you because I used to do that myself. Back when I was starting in Unity, I would just throw everything in, not order anything, not do any of that, and it would be a total mess. And believe me, it was painful to find a single thing. Alright, so on surface, we're going to right click, create survival game, environment, new surface, and I'm going to call it grass. So over here, all we're going to do is add our grass sounds. So let's go to sounds, footsteps, select the 3 of them, and drag them right in here. Alright, so time to test it. Actually, no. What we're going to do is, we're going to go to our terrain, select our terrain, and then we're gonna add the surface component, and over here we're gonna do grass. Again guys, I'm not gonna be adding every single surface just because of the fact that, you know, it's a tutorial. I'm just giving you the tools, showing you how to lay down the basics, and then you have to branch it out from there into your own game. So for example, if you wanted to do it for the rocks, all you have to do is add component, surface, and then just put the rock surface with the sounds that you got for it. So it's a pretty simple system, works really well, and it's easy to set up and add new sounds, new surfaces. It's not that hard. So this should be pretty useful for you all, not just for this project, but for a lot of projects. Okay, so let's go ahead and test it. Also, you're gonna be hearing the sounds twice. Remember, that's because I'm recording the laptop's audio and also playing it through it, so it's actually going through the laptop's mic. But this should do it. Actually, it won't work. Go back to here. Select your player and do add component, audio source. Then go back to your player script, and on start, we're going, okay, I'm gonna have to plug in the laptop. Okay, we're gonna do audio s equals get component audio source. There we go. Now it should work. So let's go back in here and actually go ahead and do it. So hopefully this works the first time. Okay, just wait for it to load. Okay, yeah, I know what's happening. We didn't set up the actual length. So let's go ahead and hit player, go to our footsteps right here, and you know we're gonna do for crouching, I will do 1.2. Walking, I'm gonna do 0.5. Actually no, 0.75, and for this is gonna be 0.4. Let's try with those values. Again, you're gonna have to play with this around to match up with your movement speed and all of that, but it should be good. Play one show was called with a null audio clip. Okay, so let me just check this real quick. Yeah, so it's not really working. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and see what's going on, and then we can just make sure that this is working. So I'll pause the video and let you guys know how to fix it. Alright guys, so I just fixed it. The error was that over here we had the negative, so just remove that minus sign and it should work. Let's go back into Unity and let's hit play, and I'll show you guys that it works. So you can see when I walk, it's actually sounding. If I run, it's not sounding. No, don't know why. What about crouching? Yeah, crouching is slower. Running's not working. I don't know why, but we'll look into that in a moment. So let's go all the way up. Okay, this is what's going on. We have crouching, so it should be running. So right over there, do running and go back into Unity. And let's hit play. So we got walking, we got running, as you can see, the sounds are not the best, but they do the job. So again, it's up to you to find better sounds and actually make it into a good experience. But you have right now everything working. You have a footstep system, you have your farming system, and that's pretty much it for this tutorial, guys. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please leave a like down below, comment and subscribe. You have no idea how much it helps and how much it motivates me to keep doing this. So these tutorials take a lot of work. I have to record them, edit them, which usually is not that much of a job, the editing part, but still recording them and finding the time to do it is kind of hard. So if you guys did like the video, as I said, like, subscribe, and comment down below. It's always appreciated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.